big exclusive that's coming up for you straight ahead. Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu's first interview since the budget. Here are some exclusive views on listing of rail PSUs, inviting private capital into the railways and really bringing the behemoth back on track.
Welcome to BTVi. I am Ashutosh Kumar, and today I have as my guest a personality who is on the motorman's seat of the Indian Railways. Please join me in welcoming Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu. Thanks a lot, sir, for being with us. Sir, before we come to the transformative reforms agenda and the restructuring that had been taken up by the NDA government, let me come back to a very important announcement that had been made by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley in this budget. And he talked about the listing of PSCs of the railways, and the three of them, IRCTC, IRCON and IRFC, are on the block. What is the roadmap, sir, for this particular listing?
You know, we started this process last year. In fact, I had put in my budget speech also.
Right.
That we like to do this.
Right.
And therefore, we started a valuation exercise even more than a year ago. We have been finding out how can we realize the best value for the government, which is the main shareholder or the only shareholder.
Right.
Which also will ensure that market will accept it the way it will perceive it. Also in terms of putting all the business plans in place, aligning the investor interest with a corporate identity and corporate plans.
Right.
So we are working on each of that. So it's already on track. We started more than a year ago, which Finance Minister also announced this year. So we'll definitely do this.
Sir, can you share some timeline on this particular front, sir?
It depends upon the market
Obviously,
condition. But we are readying ourselves. So we should, we are already, because we started our work quite early, last year only. So we are ready with most of the things. So we'll go ahead with this.
So could you give us a hint on how much stake will the government actually dilute in each of them?
I will not be able to tell you that today, because
Right.
this is something which will decide from time to time.
Right.
But as I can definitely tell you that we are in the process of implementing this
Right.
budget announcement in a right earnest.
Right. Sir, coming back to the agenda of reforms and restructuring, the NDA government will complete 3 years in May, and there will be 2 more years going forward. So what is the balance reform and restructuring issues that need to be addressed, and what is the roadmap that is there in your mind as far as the railways is concerned?
You know, you must try to understand the reform is not a one-time process.
Right.
It's not that you did reform and now you'll forget it for the next 20 years.
Right.
It's an ongoing process. And what is the reform necessary for? Because if there is something wrong, then you try to make it better by reforming it. So wherever we see anything going wrong, we have to reform it. For example, we started now fare fixation, pricing policy itself is a reform.
Right.
We are trying to work on station redevelopment, which is a major reform. We are trying to change the yesterday catering policy, which is a reform in terms of making the catering better. We are going for major issues in accounting reform, which have never happened in the history of the governments. That we are changing it from single to double entry, from cash to accrual. That's a list. That was what the expert committee always to say. Right. We are reforming it in a way, integrating costing, management accounting, bookkeeping, a management information system and all that one together by going from budgeting, government expenditure, output to outcome. The entire chain of events we are trying to capture. So this is a very significant improvement, and I think these are very structural changes. In addition to that, we have brought about changes in our management. So we are brought in the functions under one rule, like there's a member tracks, there's a member rolling stock. This used to be called member. So this is not just change of nomenclature, which is actually bringing in the functions under them and try to regroup the activities.
Right.
We are trying to bring in services also in a way that they will bring in the best possible talent into this.
Right.
Appointment of general managers, appointment of DRMs, trying to get more people participating into this process. These are all the major reforms which are done in the last few years. And we are working on quite a few more. But as I said, each and every function of the railways, whether it is reservation, we try to change it. Whether it is rolling stock, we are trying to change it. Whether it's safety, which we are trying to put 1 lakh crore now in the next few years. So each of the activity, each of the function, we are trying to make it better.
Right. Sir, the way I look at it is that all these reforms that the railways had been doing in the last couple of years will bear fruit in some time to come. But the immediate challenge that is lying ahead of the railways is that the both freight as well as earnings from the passenger is coming down. How big a challenge is this actually, and what are the initiatives that you may be looking at to basically fix the freight earnings, as far as the freight earnings are concerned? How do you actually plan to fix it?
So, the freight projections, see what is the railway? Railway is a transporter.
Right.
So how the transporter get cargo? Based on the customers.
Right.
So we talked to all the industry at beginning of the year, and they gave us a target that they will be transporting so much of cement, so much of steel, so much of coal, so much of this. If they bring that much cargo, that's how freight targets are met. Can we prepare independent of them the freight targets?
Obviously not.
Not. So therefore, the targets were dependent on that.
Yeah.
To now, I realized too early in the day that this is going to be a challenge. So we reformed the entire freight policy of railways. Right. We have reduced the freight for the first time, which was always going south. We have already reduced, we are trying to make long-term contact with the freight, our customers. We are trying to decide about, based on the customized solutions we are trying to find. What is the result of all this? In January 2017, we had the record freight loading of any January of any previous year. Okay. Not just previous year, any previous years. Okay. Record. February, which is going to end today, is also going to have far better results. Right. March, I'm expecting even better. Right. Why is it happening? Because we changed the entire freight policy. Mm-hmm. So freight reforms have been introduced. On passengers, yes. We are introducing new trains. We already introduced Antyodaya yesterday. Yes. We already started 3 new trains under the new train product called Humsafar. Right. Tejas will be coming next month. Right. And we are also bringing in the product called Uday. Yesterday, I made a partnership with Department of Post for the parcel business, right. Which is the largest going cargo business in the country, segment of cargo business in the country. We made a partnership with them yesterday. So all of this we are doing, despite the several challenges. The core sector growth was low. Right. The industry growth itself is low. So we'll get a cargo only when they grow.